we've played with Lich King and Nervosa,
Hmm.
and then who else?
DRI.
Yeah, we the our in Seattle, the big metal venue, big-ish metal venue out here that hosts DRI every year, does like a festival style bill. So we were on the last festival style DRI show. That
Yeah. Which of those bands was like the first you played with?
Lich King was
Lich King
the
and
first.
Nervosa,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Nice, nice. How early into the band's life was that?
Oh, that was last year. That was
It was September.
a couple couple
Yeah,
years, a couple years into the
a
band's
couple
life,
years
It's
in.
like a
Yeah,
year and a half.
year and a half in.
yeah.
Okay, so you guys were playing for a while before that. Well, even if you even count a year and a half as a while, you know.
I mean, yeah, we've only been on the scene for 2 years this year.
Yeah, 2 years this month.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that Seattle scene even like?
It's fun. I mean, it's mostly punks, and especially now that we're based in Tacoma, it's a lot of hardcore bands, like modern hardcore. So
Yeah.
it's mostly big modern hardcore gigs and big hardcore touring bands, and the metal stuff is few and far between, but we have good scene veterans that play shows that get people in, and we have a few more up and coming bands that are out here, but
Yeah, we
uh,
got like a tight group of homies of
yeah,
like fellow new bands and then some other older guys um, that we're cool with.
yeah, like the Accused AD are out here, and they're original Accused members, and that's really cool. We've done a show with them, and that was a good time. But they're all still rotating out here mostly. So having people in the scene to that have been out here for a while to just influence us and talk to us and keep us up on it is really cool.
Awesome. You're saying you relocated
Yeah,
recently?
well, we moved. I moved my house, my parents' house. We've been working out of we started out of Kent, and our my place has been the home of operations for the band since the start. So we went from Kent, and now we're in Tacoma. And it's a little farther out from Seattle, but it's not a big deal.
Why'd you make the move?
Um, owning the home, just
Yeah.
so
Uh-huh. Yeah, I can see that. Well, that's really cool, man. And it's cool, like the Enforcer gig, that's really exciting, and it's cool. Like it's very deserved. You don't even have a full length yet. So the band's still very early, and I cannot wait to see what you guys evolve into because of how technical you guys already are with like just, the first EP. I'd love to get into some of the band history here. Um, just individually, how did you guys all get into thrash metal? Was it something at like an early age or?
Yeah, so I was kind of raised on Iron Maiden and Megadeth at a young age from my dad. Um, my dad is related to David Ellefson, so that's like the Megadeth connection. And he just listened to Iron Maiden since the 80s and was getting back into it. So my brother and I, we'd just be listening to his Iron Maiden or Bachman Turner Overdrive CDs in the truck or on the way to whatever. So, and then um, I kind of got deeper into it because of uh, I got gifted Guitar Hero Rocks the 80s, which is kind of a funny way of it happening, but that like got me in love with like 80s music, and that was my introduction to Anthrax and just other stuff like that. So that was kind of the start for me. Um,
Yeah, I remember getting that like Metallica Guitar Hero. I think maybe it was Rock Band. I forget what it was, but it totally like because that's like when Death Magnetic came out, I think, and that came out like with it. And
yeah.
so like that really got me into it. But yeah, yeah, man, like Guitar Hero, like stuff like that has really influenced me like as well and like got me into the genre. That's cool. But wait. So what do you mean David Ellefson is?
He's my dad's cousin.
Oh, actually,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So you guys do you see him like during Thanksgiving or like a barbecue? Or is because
Um,
he's in LA, I think, or
he's in
California.
Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's been in Phoenix since like the 90s, I think, but I don't see him super often, but like since he had rejoined the band in 2010, we'd go out anytime Megadeth would come to town, we'd go out to see him and he'd get us some backstage passes. So um that was my first time meeting him, and then there was a handful of other times where we've like had a family get together and like had brunch with him. But yeah, I haven't seen him in a while, but I'm hoping that he brings Dieth or one of his other projects to Washington again soon so that we could do a show with him and reconnect again.
That's awesome. I guess Thrash runs in the family.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's cool.
Um, I I was mostly into punk and pop punk for like my early discovery of heavier and faster music. And I was looking for people to just start playing music with as a young musician, and um, I met through uh, a mother coordinated Facebook post and meetup a drummer out here, and he was into like System of a Down and Metallica, and I was not super hot on Metallica at the time, but I my taste grew, and as I learned more of the songs, I was like, okay, no, this there's good stuff here, and I went through the motions of first album to Justice and learning all the stuff and the technical advancement as the albums went on, and I was like, okay, no, I'm very comfortable in this. I like this a lot, and from then on, that's pretty much been it. Went from there to Metallica to Megadeth, and then doors were open Megadeth on. So
Yeah, now you're in a tech thrash band, which is insane.
I it's
Like from
tough.
pop punk.
Yeah, but like early pop punk like Descendants, I really enjoy NoFX also. As,
Yes, very good.
so that's that's stuff that's still in rotation for me often. So
Yeah, and not a bad genre,
no,
but there
no,
are bad bands in it.
yes, not when it's musically competent. It's fun. It's good music.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Cool.
Yeah, for me, I actually didn't grow up in a musical family at all. I grew up in a sports family. I played baseball growing up. So pretty much all the music I listened to growing up was country. But once I got out of baseball, I was going through a really big Queen phase, and I was a big fan of Brian May. So that's what got me to pick up guitar freshman year of high school. And then from there, there were like no metal heads or like really contemporary musicians at my school. So I just sat in my room and played a bunch and discovered like more guitar music through there. And that's how I kind of got into like some Megadeth, and then I kind of just hopped right away into like more progressive stuff, like a lot of Dream Theater, Symphony X, Opeth. Spent all of quarantine just practicing that stuff. And then I didn't start getting into more thrash other than like Megadeth, Metallica until I met these guys. I met Cruz at the guitar store I work at. Um, and then I joined up with them, and then I kind of started to delve more into like thrash, tech thrash, stuff like that.
Nice. I'd love for you to elaborate on the band's formation because you touched on it a little bit. So, was it formed in a guitar store?
It was formed kind of piece by piece by just looking for musicians. I was driven to start a thrash metal band, and I said, okay, well, I'm a bass player and I need everyone else. So I went and I found I was with a now ex-girlfriend at a outdoor fair church event, and that her family brought us to, and uh, Cameron was on the kit, and his hair was down to his waist, and he had a double pedal on his kit,
We were doing Cowboy Church.
and and um yeah, a double pedal on his kit, and I was like, he knows something, so he's got it together. So I quickly, as soon as their set was done, I ran up to him and was like, "Hey, I'm looking for a drummer, and you seem like you know what's up. I'm, trying to do thrash metal." And he was like, "Yeah, well, my dad's cousin is David Ellefson," and I was like, "Perfect. We're made in the shade. We're done."
Locked in.
Yeah,
I thought the same thing because I saw him like right in the front row, and it's like a hot like August day, and he's wearing black skinny jeans, like bullet belt, black shirt, and then hair over his eyes. So like he's wearing this despite it being, 80, 90 degrees. Like, okay, well, he's got to be a thrasher.
Yeah. That's a great origin story. Who named the band? Because it's such an interesting acerbity,
um,
right?
Yeah, so we were kind of brainstorming uh we had a different guitarist at first, and we were just kind of brainstorming ideas. Like I mentioned that I was a fan of like single word band names like, Anthrax, Testament, like that kind of stuff. And so just trying to think of a name like that. And then everything that we threw out was like taken, like it's already a band that exists. Um, and so I think it was
yeah,
you or your mom.
it was my mom. She was just sitting down running through a thesaurus on her phone, and she was like, "Acerbity," and I was like, "That's kind of tight." So that that's what it became. That was it.
Which means to speak sharp and directly.
Yeah, and I think it pairs with how technical you guys are and tight as a band. So I think that is cool. That is really cool. But that's such a funny origin story for that. I wasn't sure where that name even came from
Yeah, it
because
is.
it's so like it's such a vocab word,
Yeah,
you know?
just looking for something,
Well,
just looking for something with both with meaning, but also that was like, okay, that's a threat. That's a band name.
We're actually all English majors here.
also a fan of it because being AC, like it's going to be the first thing to show up in people's music libraries.
That is true. That is true. Yeah.
They're always going
That's
to be
why
like,
AC/DC is always on the top for me.
yep, yeah,
So, yeah.
except for me.
It's a marketing thing. I see.
Yeah,
That's so interesting. And I know you guys do like Holy Wars and Hook and Mouth. I'm not sure if that was just early. I'm not sure if
We
you
did
still do those.
we did
it was a one-off, like
one-off.
Halloween cover set. So it's
Yeah,
like we were doing a It was like a few days before Halloween at this dive bar that we frequent, called Lucky Liquor, and so all the bands were doing a cover set. I think the headliner was doing Danzig era Misfits, and then the opener was like Dead Kennedys,
and Bikini
Bikini
Kill.
Kill. So we're like, well, if we're gonna do a cover set, we're obviously gonna do Megadeth. And
Yeah, you're like, what's way harder to learn than those,
Yeah,
you know?
was
and we actually talked to one of our friends in the scene named Max, and since we're only a three piece, we need two guitars. So, and he was like, before I even finished asking the question, he was immediately down. He's like, "Do you want to do the Dave Mustaine?" Yes, yeah,
All I had to say was Dave, dude.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well,
Because he loves Megadeth for Marty. So
yeah, yeah. We let Toby take up all the Marty parts, and I had to balance playing the bass and doing the vocals for it, which is a good time.
Yeah, I find it so impressive how you guys are a three piece and how technical the music is. It's probably a lot easier to learn with just three people and like being tighter, instead of having like five people on stage
Yeah.
and everyone
Yeah.
has to be in sync.
It gives me a lot less room to mess up, but
those big things kind of simpler.
Yeah, it
And
makes
it's less less people that we have to share the little money that we get with.
it's less noise in the band room. Also, it's one less person fucking off at a time, which is really nice. But it's also just like we can all hear our parts and each other clearly, and that's like all we need.
Yeah.
It makes I mean, it feels more streamlined and efficient just to make sure that we can all hear each other, and it's hey, are we locking in on that part? No, because you can hear when one person's off and or doesn't hit the right whatever.
Do
Yeah, I was
you
really wanting.
see?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask, and you can continue, but just like a follow up to what you're about to say, do you guys see yourselves like including a fourth at any point, or do you see yourselves being a three piece for the band's like entire lifespan?
So that's kind of what I was about to say. Was we were briefly a four piece, and then um, had to let a guitarist go, and so then we were back down to a three piece. And initially, I was wanting to get like another second guitar because just being like Iron Maiden being my favorite band ever, and Judas Priest and Megadeth, like just the twin guitar attack of like 80s speed metal, like that's what I'm all about, like trading off solos. But I think it um like we've kind of changed our mind because for the music that like we've kind of ended up doing and evolved into, it's I think it kind of makes more sense. There's less being a tech thrash band. It's having two guitars would kind of like how do you describe it? Like there's only so much like headroom in um like two guitars would kind of muddy things up a little bit for you're trying to do complex stuff and
We'd have to
um
train another person to like fit in the very small pocket that we would have
yeah,
And
available for them to.
yeah,
and it kind of forces us to write more creatively anyways with like fuller and more complex bass parts kind of taking up the role that like the rhythm guitar might.
I think generally too, we just have a really good chemistry together. We have a really good workflow and writing chemistry. And I think, you know, we could probably find a fourth member that might fit that, but I mean, why try when we already have something that works great here, um, instead of trying to integrate a fourth member in when we're already rolling ahead really nice. So
If we find a
Right.
keyboardist though,
I'm I'm not like I mean I just think coroner like that's kind of where I'm at with that is coroner and forced entry for me where it's bass player Rush also bass player vocalist drummer guitar player like
Motorhead.
Motorhead
Yes.
for so
And it
yeah.
works. It works completely. And you can totally go in that dream theater space and like be like, you know what, maybe let's get a keyboardist down the line,
Yeah.
you know?
Definitely.
Because if you do get like, another guitarist, it's like, all right, now he has to learn all the songs, which there's a lot of like complicated parts. And like, is he going to do this? So are you going to trade off solos? You do this solo, I'll do this. So it's like it does get complicated, and I can see how there's like a bit of mix up. But I've listened to a couple of the bootlegs live, and just like hearing the studio EP, it sounds excellent, and you guys are really tight. So I think what you guys have now, I think it's the right decision. And like going forward, I can totally see you guys staying as a three piece. Now, you have a demo that's on Spotify, Hypocrite, which is the only demo you guys put out. And was this the first song you guys ever wrote together? And what was that writing process like?
Yeah, it was the first song. And I think I sat I we workshopped that a little bit, but I think I wrote mostly everything for that, right?
Yeah, I think that was the one where before we started meeting a lot, I think we'd met like one or two times and just jammed. The first thing we ever jammed was Crystal Mountain by Death.
It was Crystal Mountain and it
And
was a bunch of Megadeth. We did Tornado of Souls, just bass and drums.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jesus. Just a
awesome.
casual jam,
Yeah, man.
Not
Before we met
complicated
up,
songs at all.
yeah, before we met up, he texted me, he was like, "Can you play any Death?" And I was like, I mean, like old Death maybe, but like, and then he said, "What about Crystal Mountain?" I was like, "Okay, Crystal Mountain I actually can do." Uh, anyways, he was so yeah, he was just sending me some songs that he had recorded on guitar and bass himself. And then I was just kind of listening to that over and over and trying to create parts for it. And then, yeah, I just kind of workshopped it from there. After we started meeting up, and then it actually that song got tweaked a lot.
Yeah, that song had many, many, many fine adjustments added to it before it hit the EP.
And if
If
you check the demo
Yeah, if
between
you A and B them, there's like 30 seconds of difference where stuff is removed, and then if you listen to the drums, there's a million different change ups and little fills that he threw in there that completely make the song for me.
became more intentional
Yeah.
fills.
It's painful to listen to the demo now.
Yes, it's absolutely painful. But it's cool to have like a benchmark of, okay, sweet, we put this out. This is the first thing we ever put out. We were confident enough in the song to put it out. And then we have the fully recorded version where it's like awesome, like it's tight and the bass is doing a lot more and the drums are doing a lot more. The guitar is matching with some of the bass lines tighter too is really nice.
And plus the drums on the demo was the entire drum kit was all in one single track, and that's how
Yeah.
it got fixed. So
One single track.
yeah, because of our lack of like equipment that we had at the time.
What did
So
you have to record it?
well, we just had like a cheap Behringer soundboard going into my computer, but like
And an SM57. Yeah.
yeah, so it's it it just got all funneled into a single track, like because we were using Mixcraft to record it, which was like also really cheap recording software.
I've
And
never
so
even heard of that.
yeah, so I ended up talking to my Sweetwater sales engineer, like, hey, how do I do this? And so then we got a legit um, digital interface and digital soundboard on the computer. So now everything's got its own track and it's good. But um, I was surprised though how well it turned out despite being all in like all the drums in one track. Um, yeah, we had Ben from the bass player from Zoth
Ben Bennett.
did us a favor and just mixed it for us for free. So
Cool. Cool. Now, you guys put out an EP. Was there any talks of like actually putting it out as a record instead and maybe adding a couple tracks, or was it like right away we're going to do the EP?
I I think it was we need to
Man.
it was delayed for so
We
long.
had recorded it once before, and then that all got scrapped, and we had to do the whole process of
Why?
Well,
uh,
The
we
whole thing got scrapped?
oh man,
oh,
yeah, yeah, we so we all the songs that are on the EP we have had for freaking ever, for absolutely ever, and we were just like, okay, it's time to slam them out. Let's do it in the summer. Let's do it early in the year into the summer and we'll make it happen and we'll take our time. It'll be good. And so uh you had a customer.
yeah. So I had, not to talk too much crap, but like I had a customer who, he had like a little recording studio and he was gonna mix. Um, from what it sounded, I thought it was gonna be all right. Um, and it was gonna be for free again, and this is kind of how we learned to, like, you get what you pay for kind of thing. And then
You said it was going to be for free?
yeah,
He
because
was
it
he was
was
gonna he was gonna record, he was gonna produce, mix, and master the entire EP for completely free
Why?
he just
as
wanted the credit
he
just to get his name out there.
he wanted the credit and he expressed his like his drive to do it as like a community driven thing. He wanted to have credit for having being on an actual band's release and then giving to the community as like a free thing, like I'm going to help the music community by having this band put their stuff out.
Yeah, which
Noble.
is cool, but we're kind of
Yeah.
we were waiting a long time for it. We were expecting, like when we got the EP professionally done by Randy Burns, it took like around a month and a half, which is kind of what we were expecting. This guy's busy too, so I was like, if it's like 2.5, maybe even 3 months for the whole thing, that's fine. But then we were 4 months into it. It was barely halfway done, and we weren't really too happy with the way the sound was going anyway. So what we offered to do was pay him for the DI tracks, just have him send it to us, and then we'd send it off to someone else. But that fell through. So after that, we had to buy all the recording equipment, and that's when we did it all ourselves, and then we
Yeah.
sent it off to Randy.
So
Um,
we just
That's
recorded my way,
insane.
got a
yeah.
bunch of mics and got the interface and
So then there was the learning like curve of doing it ourselves too, which delayed it even more.
yeah,
And
because
yeah,
we learned from that is like what like getting something for free is cool, but like if it's free, you don't have any leverage or demand and to be able to like say like hey, like we have a deadline, like we want to get this out, and
yeah,
then kind of like it's for free, so like what can you say?
yeah.
I
Yeah,
think,
you can't be too picky with that, you know. But it's
but
like I've seen videos on YouTube of like how to like master and mix music. It doesn't make me an audio engineer though. You know
Right.
what I mean? That's so ridiculous, but it's funny how you guys went to the other end of the spectrum. You're like, we learned our lesson. Let's just go to like the best.
Yeah, yeah,
well,
right.
yeah, it helped a lot because we were like, at least for the recording part of it, we're like, well, let's just get some equipment and learn how to record it ourselves, which was really hard. But we became self-sufficient in that way. So now we have the means to, anytime we have something we want to record, we can just do it. We don't have to book a studio. Um, and we'll still, ship it out and pay someone to mix it. But um,
For now, we have found an efficient and very workable way for us to just get stuff out.
And it's nice to finally have it out because I think it was also a little frustrating because since then we almost have enough, material now to actually record an album. And a lot of that why we just kind of wanted to keep it an EP. Our sound has kind of definitely shifted towards more technical stuff. A lot of the stuff on the EP, I think, is a little more like classic thrash. Um, I think the song "End of the Line" is probably kind of most represents kind of the direction we're kind of heading in now. So a lot of the EP was just like, let's just get stuff out there so we can actually have something on Spotify or Apple Music for people to listen to while we work on getting new stuff
and kind of
out.
kind of keeping like the sound like all those are kind of like our older songs. So like let's just put them out together
Yeah, we had
before
had them
moving
for so
on.
long.
Yeah, before moving on to like the kind of um, the sound that we've evolved into a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's really exciting, man, because that is my favorite track on the EP. And to hear that that's the direction you guys are going into is really exciting. And just like looking at the tracks on the EP, you can kind of see like who almost like wrote each song. Like especially like, since you're wearing like a municipal waste shirt, I wonder what song you influenced. Like
I
like the beer
actually
song.
most of these, funnily enough, pretty much all of these songs were written before I was in the band. I joined the band when End of the Line was being written. Um,
Even lyrically.
yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely taken a little more like I definitely contribute riffs and some song structures now, but all that EP stuff. I mean, I wrote all my solos. I didn't copy any solos, and then every now and then when we were rearranging bits, I had a little bit of input, but mostly it was Cruise and
Yeah,
Cameron with the
it
EP.
was kind of like as far as writing, like Cruz was kind of the workhorse, but now recently Toby's been taking up a lot of initiative on like just come up with fresh song ideas and some input. But yeah, like in the start, it was definitely like he would write like 90% of it and then bring it to me and be like, okay, I'd put some drum parts on it and that would kind of like change the direction one way or the other
Mm.
of the final result.
Yeah,
Um,
and
Interesting.
yeah, we still I'll still bring in full songs, like fully written, co mostly completely composed songs with drum ideas, and be like, okay, guys, homework. Here it is. Here's the next thing that we're working on. But Toby's been doing the same thing back recently, and it's very like I'm very happy about
Yeah.
that because we have now it's now instead of okay, I'm gonna write a full song and then Cameron's gonna put his touch on it and we're gonna go with that, Toby's like, here's half a song or here's a full song, and it's like, okay, cool, we can just kind of sit back and jam this. Like
Yeah.
it's it's good. So there's a lot on that on the stuff that we've been writing where it's like, okay, I I wrote this whole song, but this song is pieces, and then this song is all Toby, and it's there's a lot. It's a way better representation. Everything that we have now is a way better representation of all of us,
Yeah.
rather I think, rather than other than the EP.
That's cool. Are you guys thinking of working with Randy again for that? Or was it just like, or did it just like kill your wallets?
Oh no, he's
He's really
reasonable.
reasonable.
He's
Yeah.
That's
like it,
awesome.
I would absolutely recommend that anyone with a either an EP or a full length, if it's their first release and you want someone to help shape your sound, who will like work for you and do it at a good price, I would absolutely recommend Randy
Yeah.
for that. Uh
One of my favorite producers,
He got
like
it on
ever.
that too. Yeah,
yeah,
he did.
yeah, he
Yeah.
was it was reasonable rates, and it was very good work. Yeah, I'm very pleased with a lot of how that sounds. I think it's a good representation of what those songs are, and but I also think that he was very willing to listen to and accommodate for personal touches and personal flavors that we wanted in it, without just taking the reins and doing all of it his way or the highway. When we had critiques for what we wanted for certain things, it would be accommodated as much as it could be.
That's really awesome. Do you think like how, well, I should ask first, how far into this next record are you? And is it even going to be a record or is it going to be another EP?
It's gonna be a record.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a record, for sure. We have, I think 6 or 7 songs. I
So
think
nothing's like
no,
recorded yet as far as a new record. We do have um what, like 50% of a new single recorded though. So
yeah, well, that's
that'll be
that's a
coming beforehand.
current work in progress. That's very good because that's also a song we've had written and we've been playing live for a very long time.
Nice. Why did you guys decide to put out a record this time?
Because it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time.
It's well beyond the time for us. I think that our drive has been very consistent, and we just want to work. And we want to play these shows. And we want to make this music, and that's been a constant for us. And I think that we dropped the EP way after it should have been done, and now it's like, okay, we are developed in our sound enough from that point on to have an album that sounds really consistent and like what we have done and what we will do in the future.
And I think we're all kind of a little old school in the way that we all really enjoy like the full album
Yeah.
kind of thing
Yep.
compared to just like putting out like little short bits all the time. Maybe a little old school for what the industry is now. But I think, a lot of the metal community, especially with like, thrash metal too, is kind of also more oriented towards that anyway. So
I think I agree 110% with what you're saying, and it's cool that you guys are putting out a record because all these bands I talk to, because you guys are all in this fourth wave of thrash metal, and every band's like, yeah, we did put out a record, but it's all EPs from here on out. And there's bands who, they have like 4 EPs, but they've never put out a full release. And that's the thing. It's like, yeah, it's like an EP is nice. You get like the 4 or 5 songs. But it's like to have like a full record is really nice, and
Yeah.
it's enough content to hold someone for a while.
Yeah,
yeah.
They're
totally.
just
I feel like an EP is
constantly
great.
shedding songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think an EP is great to like hold you over till the next release, but it's like a foretaste or a
Yeah.
teaser to
It's
Yeah.
the next
it's the
the next
appetizer.
slab.
That's what that especially with our stuff. I think it's okay, this is where we were, this is what we did, and it's out, and now we're moving forward and we have something bigger and better. So
Yeah, a debut EP I think is really good though. You know, maybe not EPs for the entire like band history, but I think like a debut EP and then records there
Yeah.
on out, I think is a really solid like discography. And that's really exciting to hear that. So you're saying that the end of the line is going to be like kind of the direction you guys are going in. To what extent is it going to be like, are all songs going to be like pretty long? Are you going to get even more technical than that track? Or am I spoiling too much here?
It's mostly the technical one because we've written so many songs that are 5.5 to
Seven.
7 minutes, 7.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So now we're actually at the point in writing songs where we're like, hey, can we like write a 3 minute song next? Because so many of the tracks we have right now are 5.5 to 7 minutes. So it's we're not striving for long, but we just happen to write big pieces.
It's the prog fan in me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
It's
awesome.
it's wanting a million different epic things in a song and what's what's the next awesome halftime section going to sound like and how can we move this along through the song.
I think we have a good variation of songs that kind of are a little more focused and like kind of stick to your more standard, like, verse, chorus, bridge type of thing while still being interesting. And then we also have a few songs that, at least for us, they're a little more all over the place, but I think kind of in a cool technical way, kind of like, like a lot of Death is very like unfocused and very jumpy, but still kind of cool. I think we kind of like having that balance between stuff that's like more focused, but still technical, and also stuff that's like
Some ADHD
what's gonna
songs.
come next. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that so much.
It
That's
always
really exciting.
it always wraps back up to a catchy chorus.
Yeah.
It always does, and not for the not for the pop sense, but just it always it always
Naturally comes back.
naturally comes back into itself, and you always get the point of the song by the time it's done.
Yeah.
That's really exciting, man. I can't wait to hear this. And I love the EP because it's like almost you guys evolve in that EP because it starts very traditionally, especially like with beer song and stuff. And then throughout the EP, it's like, damn, these guys really like just get super technical at the end. So to hear that this is the continuation of that is really cool how you can almost lay out every song in order and it's just like the evolution of the band. And that's really, really exciting. And I'm not sure, have you guys even thought about what year this is going to be out?
Oof,
I'd
maybe
like to
No,
say
we've not
next
thought
year,
about
I
but
know we have.
Yeah.
I'd really like to say next year, because we still have some writing to do, and we have to find our time to sit down at the desk and get to work, put our feet to the ground for recording.
I think we want to take a more controlled effort to recording because with the EP, it was very much like trying to fit it around our work schedule. So like we'd record a day here, a day there, which would kind of like like maybe Sundays you'd come in and you'd be really tight, and then you'd come in another day, and it's just like I'm struggling today, just because everything was so staggered. So I think we kind of want to take a more like dedicated time to just get the whole thing done pretty neatly.
I think it could go either
Yeah.
way because like with the when we recorded the EP the first time in last January last year, we are like expecting this to come out like April, and then all this stuff happened where we realized we had to do it ourselves, and then we're like, okay, well, this should be out by like the end of the summer, and it like we didn't finish even recording until like October or November, and it was just like, yeah, like you said, you'd come in like after work and you'd just be like you're just thrashed from work, and then you can't like put on a good performance at all. And then we also just had a ton of technical problems that happened for absolutely no reason. Uh, but so I mean, who knows? Like if we set a deadline, it could very well go past what we say it will. But at the same time, I feel like we've also gotten a lot better at the process just from like being thrown in the fire right away. Because like
Yeah.
when we went to record this next single, it um, we recorded a demo version, and then we're like, screw the demo, let's just put out a legit single. And like from the tracks that we've laid down, like we cranked them out like a lot quicker than any of the other songs from the EP. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool and hearing all to hear that and to hear all these DIY elements of you guys. And I know you guys are, I believe you're independent right
Yeah.
now, right?
yep.
Have you guys, been searching for a label? Do you feel also pressured to have to like follow the standards and of labels of like, okay, I need to get those 10K followers now. I got to start doing the TikToks. Because that's the thing, like being in a label, like they want you to do that shit,
I
unfortunately,
I I'm definitely not driven to do the TikToks. That's that's not something I'm interested in. I'm I'm okay with using the Instagram algorithm as much as we can possibly use it, but that's basic social media use.
Yeah.
Like I don't other than that, I'm not interested in doing anything performative or
Because I don't think we want to be seen as like a TikTok or an Instagram band where we put out, like we get a lot of followers from like funny skits or whatever. I mean, whatever works for you. And if you're having fun, that's great. But I think we kind of want to be, I mean, we're fine being funny and goofy and not taking ourselves too seriously. Like we have a McLovin flag behind us right now.
yeah.
But like, there's also a point where like, we take the music itself seriously. We want to be taken seriously for our music. Um, so
We have
trying to balance that.
plenty of other ways of showing how dumb and goofy we are.
Yeah.
Just on our Instagram alone.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we don't need we don't need anything extra, and people, if people enjoy who we are as people, at least via social media, then that's about as much as we need. They should be interested in the music.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. And bands like Void have proven that you don't need to be a meme,
Yeah.
to be signed and be a big band. So I agree 100%. I really love what you guys are doing. This EP is fantastic. I cannot wait for this record and new single. It's been an awesome time talking to you guys, and thank you for taking the time. And before we end things, if there's anything I missed, what's like the general future of the band look like right now?
Working.
Yeah.
We're working.
That's a lot of work.
Just a
Yeah.
lot of work. Lots of work ahead for us. The goal is just to get out as far as we can and meet the people that we need to be meeting. We are heading down to Portland for the first time after lots of canceled shows in June, June 28th, and we're opening for Morbid Saint as the not what is it, direct support. So that's
That'd be cool.
that's
Yeah.
going to be a very good one.
Awesome.
That's our first time down there, and that one's looking
for
sold out.
a
So
wrestling event.
yeah, there's a fun little thing in Portland where they'll do like a 2 or 3 band metal bill and then have a luchador wrestling event right after.
That's so amazing. I
It's
feel like you wouldn't think they would pair, but I feel like they would.
apparently
Oh,
they
yeah.
do. People
Yeah.
love it. So I'm very excited to get down there and perform it. That'll be a good time. But
Yeah,
just
definitely some crossover fans for
yeah,
sure.
Then this summer too, we're trying to put together just like small, if you
regional.
can call it a tour, like a Washington tour. We hit like just kind of the outer edges of Washington instead of just Seattle and Tacoma like we always do.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we have the opportunity, we want to like, bump it up to like a West Coast tour, and then
Yeah.
and then
The goal is to work, record, and hit the road.
like
That's
Nice. That's a good thing to live by. And there's great scenes I'd love to see you guys like check out, like in LA, in Houston. There's so many great hot spots right now for thrash metal, and I think you guys would do great there. Now, what's the best way to stay updated with
uh,
everything you guys are doing?
Instagram, ACERBITY Thrash on Instagram. That
Awesome.
and I mean, Facebook gets updated every now and again, but it should be the same on Facebook. And that's about it. That's all we got.
Awesome. Well, boys, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
for having us.
Yeah.
It was awesome talking. My name is Brandon Battick, and this has been Disturbing the Priest.